Memory bandwidth 326 gigabytes. Vapor chamber cooling. Slow look. 1 terabyte hard drive. In simpler terms, the CPU is 30% faster than the Xbox One's equivalent, with the GPU 4.6 times more powerful. Its RAM and hard drive read speeds are also improved, meaning 4K resolutions should be easily achieved and maintained. It's also definitively more powerful than the PS4 Pro and will allow for performance increases on non-4K screens. I know, guys. Oh, he goes. That means Xbox One games can receive performance boosts or super sampled resolutions, even on a regular HD output. Even without specific Scorpio patches, the new console will seemingly run all Xbox One and 360 backwards compatible games better than on standard or S hardware. Load times, frame rates, and resolutions should benefit. In a stress testing version of Forza 6, the console reportedly displayed the game at 4K 60 frames per second, using around 60 to 70% of its full power. A regular Xbox
That's pretty
One,
awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome, but racing games are like made for that.
Yeah, that's true.
A regular Xbox One runs the game at 1080p 60 frames per second using 90% of its power. And we have a poll for you.
Yes, we do.
You can ram it somewhere, or you can answer the question. How are you feeling on the Scorpio specs? A, underwhelmed and uninterested. B, seems a considerable step up the Xbox One. C, it's a monster. I'm so excited. D, my feelings will strongly depend on the price.
You read that?
That's where I'm at, personally.
Like
I'm A. Underwhelmed and uninterested.
my option is E.
Really? Let me tell you why, Andrew.
Tell me why.
It is powerful, no doubt.
Yes, the most powerful console ever made.
Oh, they made sure we knew that, yeah. It
Yeah.
is the most powerful console ever made. To which I would say, if this thing costs around $500 to $600, which, if you think it won't, think again. I know how much these parts cost. That is an expensive machine, and there is no way you can price that at a competitive price without taking a real loss. Why not just get a PC then, to which you can play all the Xbox games on now anyway, because they shot themselves in the foot and have eliminated the need for a console. I have a PC at home. I made one minor upgrade to it this year. It can run 4K.
To Ziploc Bog, that kind of is the answer. If you don't have a PC, you are like Dean. You are saying it's you're underwhelmed and uninterested.
My
because
option
you own a
is
PC.
E. The console specs are impressive, but what games am I playing on it?
And that's a whole nother issue.
But that's not what the question is.
Sure
the question is, how are you feeling on Scorpio's specs?
Right.
That's how I feel about them. I'm impressed, but I don't know what games I'd be playing on there in order to show off
that's
those
just
specs.
you adding on something unnecessary to this question.
It's not about the game. I mean, that's a whole nother issue. That is,
games are not going to be announced with Digital Foundry's story.
Right.
This wasn't about that. Games are going to be announced at E3.
Right,
Not
just
even
based on specs
necessarily new
alone.
ones, but even the backwards compatible ones. Forza 6 only used 60 to 70% of the power. So then I'm not even getting the full power on the games that I currently own. You know what I mean?
And really, like, the people who would say, like, well, people don't want to have to deal with PC and drivers and blah, blah, blah. It's really, like, honestly, dude, I've built PCs for, like, a good amount of years now. It's really not hard. I taught myself. I read a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it.
PC
I didn't
for
take any
dummies.
kind of crazy classes. I read a book and I looked up some YouTube videos and I've built like 5 or 6 of them at this point. It's not hard. And when you can do that for, you can build a mid to high range PC for just a couple more $100 and have access to the entire Xbox library. Mm-hmm. And quite possibly have better specs for that extra couple $100. Like, I don't know, like, who cares really about this at that point? It just seems obsolete because of what they did with their games.
I think people are misunderstanding, though, in the chat. Like, I get what you're saying, and I agree with Greg, but why are we talking about games right now? We can't talk about games yet.
We're just wondering what you feel on
Everybody's
the
talking about
actual
games.
specs of the hardware.
The reason the question is on specs is because that's what we have.
Right.
This
We
was
all
a
are-
Digital Foundry story focused on specs. They were not going to reveal
because it's
games.
but it's a video game console.
Right, but we're
But
just
this is the
asking
first
about
reveal of
what you think
anything.
about what you think about the specs.
They didn't name the console. They didn't show the console off. They didn't give a release date. This is not about any of that. It's literally just, hey, Digital Foundry went to Microsoft. They allowed us to have a peek at the specs. Here's what they are.
Like, what would you say if someone okay,
Like if somebody said the PlayStation 5 has these specs, I wouldn't care about that story then. Like that would be a story I skip over.
When the PlayStation 4 Pro was announced and we had the conversation, what did you think about the PS4 Pro? The library was never brought up, even though they have plenty of games to play on it.
Because this wasn't the next console.
This isn't Xbox's next console either. This is their iterative console. This is their PS4 Pro.
I don't get that though.
What do you mean you don't get it?
It's a simple question. What do you think of this as a system, as a machine?
Yeah.
Not with games, just on the raw power it's capable of. What do you think of it? That's the question we're asking. I don't think there's an issue of agreeance or disagreeance on the games. I think we're all on the same page. They obviously had a real problem.
To be seen.
Right. And I'm sure at E3 they'll have some kind of plan in place
to answer the question myself, I would say I want to wait to see the prices, because if this is priced at $400, I think that's awesome.
That would be phenomenal.
Yes. If they get this at $400 for those specs there, I think that's a killer price for the most powerful console on the market.
I should say the likelihood of that being a viable option for them is like 4% chance.
If they hit 500, I think that they might do okay, but that is like the limit. If they go by 500, I don't see this thing being successful.
I think this is the PS3's launch.
I think it's going to cost $500.
I think it's going to be $599, and
$600 is honestly what it's worth.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to get away with that. And so pricing it at $500 and taking a little bit of a hit.
In my head, I think back to Xbox One, and that started at $500, and they quickly realized that was a mistake, and they dropped down to $400 as quickly as possible. They even removed the Kinect to make that happen. Mm-hmm. Like, would they make that same mistake twice? You know, like,
I don't know. I've said this a couple of times, and I think that unintentionally they would. I think they got so wrapped up in falling behind with this generation, and I've said this to you guys before the chat, that they're so eager. Even though this is iterative, it's a considerable leap forward, and I think they're so worried now. They're so worried and wrapped up in how do we like knock Sony down a couple of pegs and like get our machine the talk of the town here. Mm-hmm. And I think in doing that, that's kind of inadvertently force starting the next generation, even though it is kind of iterative. It's a considerable leap ahead. And I think they're going to find that like no one's ready yet.
It's a considerable leap ahead in regards to Xbox One S and the original PS4. In regards to PS4 Pro, it's definitely a leap ahead, but I'm not sure we're going to be seeing games look that much better on this thing.
No, and that's also a discussion that we had.
And that's not because the system isn't more powerful. It's just because most first-party studios aren't really going gung-ho on Xbox right now. Mm-hmm. It's all third-party stuff, and I don't see third-party guys really going out of their way to make it that much better looking on this thing. They're going to maybe have it at a higher frame rate or more consistent frame rate, and maybe the resolution is higher. Maybe it's 4K native instead of 4K upscaled, like it is on PS4 Pro. I think it's
said to be able to run games. They said the game they saw, which was Forza, was running 4K natively.
Yes.
This machine is supposed to be running these games 4K natively.
Xbox One games.
Xbox
One games natively 4K.
Right.
Who knows if games coming out after Scorpio releases will also achieve that.
And what's the deal with there? Well, I guess we don't know, but there will now be Xbox Scorpio, whatever it's called.
Not exclusive, no.
No, so they're all going to have to be available on Xbox One.
That's the thing, is any developer has to make sure this thing runs on both Xbox One S and Scorpio. And when it releases, one disc. You're not buying separate games for each one. One disc plays on both Scorpio and Xbox One. That, to me, tells me the developers are not going to go crazy trying to make sure that the Scorpio version is that much better to the point where it's going to look like a next-generational leap.
I would, to simplify things, really, all of this extra power is making it so that this can run most things at a higher frame rate and 4K natively on Xbox One games. We don't know what the case is, like Andrew said, for potential future games that are released. But that's basically what they're trying to get to, which is the leg up on the PS4 Pro. So to run things native in 4K, 60 frames per second, that's the end goal here. That said, nobody who isn't like a massive tech head and is like really pinpointing every pixel is ever going to be able, and it's just your human eye.
Yeah.
Is ever going to be able to fucking know the difference between something being rendered to 4K, upscaled to 4K, or something native at 4K. Sure as shit, the people walking into stores who are just like, oh, they both do 4K and this one's $100 cheaper.
You're gonna have those people that count pixels for sure. Those guys are out there,
but they're such a small group, and they're not. They are not the dozens of millions of people that have these PS4s that.
But those are the guys that will be buying this. And that's what I wonder is does Microsoft expect this to be like the thing that puts them ahead of PlayStation, or are they looking at this realistically where like, yeah, this is the thing that a bunch of hardcore people are going to get. We're going to cater to those people. They'll sell a few million. That's it.
I'm not sure, man.
I wonder, that's what I'm wondering about, because I don't think this is going to take back the throne from Sony in any way, shape, or form.
No, I think that's what I think. I think they've given up on that, and I think this is them trying to like kind of kickstart the next thing.
Yeah.
Which I don't think people are ready for, and I think they're going to find
It's interesting to me, though. I know we have a more PS4-focused fan base. God, I mean, 60% saying underwhelmed and uninterested. We had a bunch of people also say that they're waiting on the price point, though, as I am. Because, as I said, if this thing hits $400, even though I might not get it, I think that's a great price, and I think you will see a bunch of people jump on at that price. Thank you for the follow. And the other follow earlier as well. Who was that? Hold on one sec.
I've always loved Xbox. I was a primarily 360 guy. I have a PC. I have the Xbox One. I've always made room in my life for all different systems and all different games. But this is going to be really pricey, and it's going to hit such a niche group of people, I think, that, I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I think at E3, whatever kind of messaging is behind this, whatever kind of tone they try to set around this thing is going to really give us a good idea to how it's going to do.
Thank you to Hunter, Chan Chan, and Mr. Westline for those follows. Keep them coming, guys. And, of course, subs are most important right now, so we can hit that goal and get on the front page of Twitch. Keep that in mind, and you'll also get a prize we'll spend if you sub. Yeah, thank you for all the votes. We'll have to keep an eye on this. I mean, I would imagine E3 is the next time we hear anything.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Maybe they show off the console, like, itself before E3, and save games for
E3. Yeah, I guess they could.
I don't know. Maybe they'll, like, at the very beginning of the conference, they have it on the pedestal, they take off the box.
That would
Here's what it
be
looks
the way to
like.
do it, I think.
It's releasing this date. I don't think they give it a price at E3. And then they show a whole ton of games that are being shown on Scorpio. This is what it looks like on Scorpio.
The problem is, they already kind of set the tone by, I don't know, because they made a big hype video about it during last E3, and then they made a console reveal out of their Slim.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think I'm most curious really just to see how they position this at E3.
Yeah.
Or if they do reveal it beforehand. Like, what is this to them, I think is the big question.
Yeah.
You know?
It'll be interesting to find out.